Hey Homeworthy, I'm Clay Snyder, and welcome to my home in Midtown Atlanta. Come on in, y'all.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hi, I'm Clay Snyder. I'm an interior designer. Welcome to my home. Well, I found this house because I was walking down the street on the phone and literally fell over the for sale by owner sign and contacted the owner, and he just went from there, and that was 24 years ago. It was literally unlivable. It was totally up my alley because I don't like things that other people have already done. So that's what drew me to it. When I first bought this house, there was a fence, a privacy fence that went around the whole property. And the day of closing, I bought a chainsaw and came over with a friend and cut the privacy fence down to show off the house. And so after that, we just started peeling back all the different layers of the onion to it. So it seemed like it was just a little paint and kind of get it going, but it was a lot more than that. My home style is very eclectic. I like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I like very traditional, obviously, but I like a little funk thrown in too. And my style changes from day to day. When people walk into my house, I want them to feel like they are at home. I want maybe not their home, but they feel comfortable and they feel like they can sit down and relax. And even though I like nice things, I like every room to feel like you could just sit down and relax. Welcome to my living room. The art in here came from, every summer we go to Provincetown, Massachusetts, and Cape Cod area. And I try to buy something every time I go. And so I didn't realize how much I had. And so I have had the collection of these sea anemones and saltwater fish. And then also I bought several like big paintings there as well. And so I sort of just assembled it all together and decided that that was going to be the theme for the art of the living room. Well, I had these sconces in here forever that I actually bought at Ballard Backroom Designs, but it was based in Atlanta. It was years ago, and they were a pair of them, but they didn't match because one was broken. So I just sawed the other one off, and they've been with me for like 25 years. Then I bought these plaques at another sale, and I decided to mount the sconces onto the plaques, and I quite like that. So then it made this area that I felt like I needed to surround it with something. So then I decided to get all my Cape Cod Provincetown art together and surround it. So I think it created a great little gallery. Well, there's a lot of seating in here because I just like a lot of stuff, and I didn't mean to have so much. So used to, I had just the piano and a sofa and a chair in this chest. And then over time, I've layered, and all of a sudden now I've got seating for like 12 people in this tiny little room, but I like it and it feels comfortable to me. And the fact there's like a big piano in a tiny room, but it works for how I live because I love live music. I had a piano before that was old and was great, but I was at an estate sale on the last day of the sale. At estate sales, pianos never sell typically because they're hard sell. and to have them moved and whatnot. And so that was at an estate sale on the last day, and they said, they needed to get rid of it. It's a player piano. It's compared to my old, just normal piano. And so I made them an offer, and they said it was fine, but it had to be gone that day, but nobody could do it. And I said, well, I happen to know people that can move it today. So I got it for next to nothing. And it is a player piano, and we use it all the time. The Coca-Cola sign I bought at a little roadside little junk shop years ago, but it was from a store in Ohio, and it was out in front of the store. It's double-sided, and it would spin around in front of the store. And I would love to have it somewhere one day where it actually could do that. But for right now, I just have it because it's just a conversation piece. It doesn't fit in with my everything else, and that's why I like it. And it's always a little conversation piece. I bought this piece at the Scott Antique Show when I was in college, so many moons ago, 30-ish years ago. And it was at the Scott Antique Show, and it was there again, it was on the last day of the show, and I offered the guy like next to nothing and got it. And I've hauled it around every house I've lived in since, and I love it. It's still tons of storage, and it just is a big, chunky Empire piece, and I think it looks great. So I did the draperies in here because this used to be 2 rooms. It was a bedroom and a living room. And I took the wall out to actually moved the wall to create a foyer. And so in doing that, the windows and the doors don't match up on the front of the house. So I didn't want to change the front of the house architecturally. So I just chose to drape the wall. And then I hung this contemporary piece above the sofa. And there again, I think it works great for how I live. I have a horrible problem with collecting books. In fact, coffee table books. In fact, I cut myself off several years ago with buying books because I have another home. And when I moved there 5 years ago, I'd collected 100 books from this house and took them to my farm, and you couldn't tell there was one missing. But I buy them at estate sales for the most part for nothing. But I also buy them garden books and architectural books and design books, and I do use them, and they are like they're useful. Some of them, a Bunny Williams book I have 2 of them, Affair with the House. They're both falling apart because I've referenced them so much. But I find I love a glossy coffee table book for inspiration, and I obviously have many of them. Welcome to my foyer. I just had Philip Jeffries came out with this new mural wallpaper, and they printed it really fast for me. And I love it, but it's just a reflection of me, really. It's like I do a lot of mural wallpapers, so a lot of them are formal and French looking, and this is just a landscape, and I really love it. I also love this. I have a ball of barbed wire that I've had for years, and it's like I don't know. It's something that I think is super cool, and everybody always comments on it, and I love it too. This actually used to be the living room of this house, and I made it into just the foyer, and so that's why there's a fireplace at the front door of my foyer. I also love these columns that I got at an estate sale for nothing. They were laying behind a house, and they were crusty and nasty, and I brought them back and used them in here, and now they look amazing with this wallpaper. The entry table is actually a Mitchell Gold piece from a long time ago, and it's more rustic in nature, but it actually now works with my wallpaper. So I love the idea of that it's like, not fancy and formal, but it kind of does a high-low little design aesthetic. So the lantern that I used here is actually, bought a pair of them. They were $20 a piece at a sale, and I love them. And I have one in the front foyer, one in the rear foyer, but there is a lighting company that they paint the inside of their lanterns a contrasting color, and but they're also several $1,000s. So I took my $20 lantern and painted the inside of it a fun color so that it would just sort of give a little pop in here. So the mantle, I never cared about this mantle because it's original to the house, but it was never anything that stood out. But when I did the wallpaper, I had the trim in here lacquered. And all of a sudden the mantle became alive, the fireplace became alive. So I have this painting that I bought in an estate sale in Newnan, Georgia several years ago of this little boy that I think is just, it's just awesome. And then these cloisonne vases that I've had for a long time, all of a sudden the colors just all came alive. And so it makes me happy. So I love, in the winter, I build a fire every night, and I love this fender it's from England, but you can sit on it and actually, sit by the fire. Not that we do, but I love the idea of it. But then also this little chair, I sort of inherited it from a project, but it's a fireside chair, and it was meant, everybody always comments that it's so short, but it is meant to be an actual fireside chair. And so it's like, just a charming little old chair that I think is cute to have by the fireplace. About 22 years ago, I put this wallpaper, and it's grass cloth, and we did the ceiling and the walls. And I loved the wallpaper, but I did all the trim white, and I didn't love the white. So I just had all the trim lacquered to kind of more go with the wallpaper. And we left, I can't believe it's still up here after all these years, but I still love it. And then I was wanting something that was dramatic and not that you'd see in everybody else's house. I had a mirror in here, a Louis Philippe mirror, which they're lovely, but lots of people have them. So I found this in an estate sale in Newnan, Georgia, and it absolutely was not what I was looking for. And then I saw it, and it could not be more perfect. The colors, the scale, the size, everything of it just makes me happy. And I bought this buffet at the Scott Antique Market here in Atlanta years ago, and I've hauled it around to numerous houses as well. It's just tremendous storage as well. When you live in a little house, it's great to have. I love this. It's a birdcage chandelier. Always loved the style of those. And then also with the chandelier, when I first did this years ago, I wanted a beautiful medallion, but for the ceiling. But the medallion I wanted was at this showroom here called Mrs. Howard. And I saw the medallion and I fell in love with it. And then when I found out how much it cost, it was like $3,000. I was like, well, that's not going to work. So I went to Ballard Design, the back room again, and they had two wall art pieces, and I just stuck them up there and hung the chandelier, and it's the same effect. And so it's like, to me looks, I'm not happier spending $100 than $3,000. But then also I have the concrete balustrade lamps that weigh about a bazillion pounds each, but I love having the different light, and also the painting light. It gives a great glow in here at night. So years ago, I was in an estate sale actually here in Atlanta, and the guy knows where I'm from. I'm from South Georgia, the next town over from where Jimmy Carter is from, Plains, Georgia. And he had this painting, and it's a painting of Jimmy Carter's mother, Lillian Carter. And it was never finished. You can see like the details of the face and up here, but as it goes down, it was never finished. And so it wasn't all that expensive, but it meant something to me. It was interesting to me because of who she was and where she was from and where I'm from. And of course, I also love the colors in it. This chest, which needs to have lots of work done to it, but I've had this since I was in college, and I got it for free, but it's a bow front, English bow front chest, and it's beautiful. And I got it for free and never did anything to it to restore it, but I still love it. And then I always like to have a little bar set up here with our, peanut butter, tequila, and whatnot, so that friends can make a little drink when they come over. I love this table. It is an English breakfast table. I've tried numerous tables in here over the years, but I've had this table for a long time, and this room is not very big. And so the breakfast table is narrow, and so it works for me for traffic walking through this room. And then I had some dining chairs that for a long time that I actually loved. They were French oval back chairs. And I loved them, but I was in an estate sale, and the last day of the sale, the person said, I commented on these chairs, and the person said, well, you can have them for $50 a piece. And so I decided, well, I guess I like them better than my oval back chairs. So I got those, and then I bought these chairs, which I just had recovered in this amazing Lee Joffa fabric. But I was buying something off of Facebook Marketplace for a client, and the woman just said as I was there, would I happen to be interested in host and hostess chairs? And she said, yeah, you can have them both for $20. And so I decided I needed host and hostess chairs, and then of course I had them recovered in this beautiful fabric. But that is, I like them. I like having things that are not all matchy. So I have a lot of china and a lot of crystal and all that, but I love to mix it up where it's just like a little of this, a little of that. But I have my sterling, which I'll use every day, and I love it. But the place setting is like I did Wedgwood Georgia plates, which is like the official china of Georgia. And then I bought these plates about 30 years ago in St. Simon's, and this Tiffany blue I've loved, and I've coveted these for years, and I just love that color. And then these are estate sale finds that were like nothing. I think they were a couple dollars a piece, but they just look amazing layered up like this. And then of course I have my little, I bought a set of china at an estate sale. I didn't even really want it, but it had an S on it for my last name. So I bought the whole set and really don't use any of it except these little salt wells. And then I started collecting these different, they're just glass, they're not crystal, but they're different colors. And so I have 4 different colors of them, and they don't necessarily all match the style, but sorta enough. So I just mix it all together. And then a funny thing, I went to an estate sale in Columbus, Georgia several years ago, and these women were asking what something was there. And I said, so matter of factly, that was a place card holder. It was obviously a place card holder, and you'd put, like nuts in it or whatever. And so I insisted on buying all of them, and so I had 12 of them. But I've realized that they were not place card holders. They were actually ashtrays that were from like the 50s or 60s for like a bridge club. So you would have where you put your extra cigarette on the top up here, and this would be your ashtray at the bottom. But I still like to put them out because I think they're funny and cute. Although we don't have any allow smoking in here, but we still is cute. I wish I knew what this thing was called. I don't know what it's called, but I bought this at an estate sale years ago, and I just love it. It's like little separate where you can do flowers in it and or whatever you want to do. But I've coveted it for years, and it just I'd use it for holidays or parties or whatever. And last year I did some renovations here. We're moving my dining table, and we put the table together, and my friend and I were standing by looking at, we put this down the middle of the table, and the center of the table collapsed, and all of it was crushed into like a million pieces, except for these very end pieces. And I'd paid nothing for it basically when I bought it at the estate sale, but I still loved it so much. So there's a little man here in Atlanta that does porcelain repair, and he put it back together for me. So you had to have and I knew that he would need all the pieces. So I very strategically swept up all the little tiny pieces, and he put it back together. And so it just, I wound up paying a lot for it to be put back together as compared to what I paid for it to begin with, but it's one of those things that makes me happy to look at. So years ago, I did a room in the show house, the Atlanta Symphony Show House at the St. Regis Hotel. It was the first, when the St. Regis first opened. I don't even know how long ago that's been, 20 years maybe, but I did a space in the show house, and I had this banquette made for a corner space, and we were taking it in. We only had so much window of time to get into the show house, and so, for the elevators and whatnot. And so we were taking it in, and they were like, it's not going to fit because of the legs on it. And so, of course, I'm like, oh, it's going to fit one way or another. We've got to get it in here, whatever. So I took a hammer and tore the legs off of it, and it fit in there. We screwed them in there, and it's still propped up with the temporary legs, however many years, 20 years later. But it works great as this little corner thing, and when I have people over, it's so funny. People always gravitate this little corner banquette. Now let's go into the kitchen. Years ago, when I bought this house 24 years ago, I didn't have any money to do anything with, and so after, because I had an apartment building behind here to have to renovate to try to help pay for the house. And so the kitchen was the original to the house. It was a little tiny kitchen with a breakfast room. And I was just going to live with it because it was what it was. I didn't have any money. And so I was walking through here one night, and the sink used to be in front of this window. And I was walking through on the phone, and I fell through the floor into the basement. And I was on the phone, my phone went across the room, and I was screaming, laughing once I realized I was okay. And my friend, because I realized that my biggest fear was the movie Money Pit from years ago when Tom Hanks falls through the floor, and I actually did exactly what he did. So it's like, it just made me, I'm like, well, here we are, the Money Pit. But that started the renovation, so I immediately had to redo the kitchen. So, because the floors were gone and the cabinets. So I redid redid the cabinets and did these the countertops, the backsplash, and I just have studied old English kitchens, and I always loved the faucet that came out of the back of the wall, and I loved the arch of the backsplash, but I couldn't find someone or a template to do it with back then. So the countertop people were like, just take a pencil or marker and draw on the wall what you want, and I did, and they just took from what I drew on the wall and did this fabulous design behind the stove and the sink with the double OG edge, and I still love it. 20 something years later, it makes me happy. I did recently, I had this hood was here. I did put a hood in years ago, but we actually just painted it blue and then put the brass on to give it a little jazzier feeling. And then the wallpaper is Mulberry from England. I love it too. It's all the blues and the colors that are kind of, to me, relaxing. The art I have in here, actually, like, I'm from the country, from a farm in South Georgia, so a lot of things in here like mean something to me. But years ago, I was looking through a book, and I don't even remember the circumstances, but I saw it was about Southern artists, and I saw this painting that was in there, and I was like, that is my grandmother's house that my brother lives in now. At the time, my brother and I owned it together, but he now lives there with his family. But I saw the painting there, and it was from an artist from our town, Helena Meek. And so, but I didn't know she'd done a painting of my grandmother's house. And so my mother contacted them and bought it for me for a Christmas present. So that means something great to me. And then below that is my other grandmother. It's a ration book holder. And in World War II, when they were given rations for food, it was the big deal to have one left over. And she had one ration stamp left over, and she kept it all those years. And so I had it framed in this little shadow box. So I have something of both of my grandmothers as a little remembrance of them. So, and then it's funny in this room, of all the things I've done in here, back to when I was saying I did this kitchen years ago, the ceiling was, I fell through the floor, and then the ceiling was falling down because it was plaster. And so I had the contractor just put cheap boards up there because we couldn't figure, I didn't want to do sheetrock, so we put cheap boards, and then I had a faux painter glaze it. And there again, I still love it all these years later, and people commented on all the time. It's a great detail. I didn't want another kitchen cabinet piece, but when you live in a small house, like, storage is essential. So I bought this pine piece, which I love, at a estate sale, sort of a garage sale, for almost nothing. It was crazy. But I use it for tons of storage down here, but also for my ironstone collection. And I just love to I change it out. Right now, I just got all the ironstone, but I like to change it out for holidays. Like Halloween's coming up, but Thanksgiving, I do a turkey collection. Christmas, I've got a Santa Claus collection. Easter, whatever. So it's really great just to highlight all the different collections I have. I started collecting the ironstone because of all this simple, and it's not ironstone, but my grandmother had this little simple set of plates that probably came from like the grocery store or somewhere, like very simple, but She had other little pieces to it too, which I have also, but it's nothing. It's very like homemade and simple looking, but it made me appreciate the simplicity of it. And so then I started adding the, ironstone. Most of it is from England. It's, not American country, but I like just a mix of what I like. Years ago, when I worked for the furniture company, Beverly Hall Furniture Galleries, over 25 years ago or so, we had this thing. It's called a corona, but it's a crown for a bed where you would hang above a bed and you'd have a bed hanging. And I was obsessed with it. I wanted to have a bed with this like really fancy bed hanging, which I never did and never wanted to have really, but I just thought it was cool. But I had bought this thing and I was like, now I have it. What am I going to do with it? So I took the Corona and made it into a pot rack. And so I love this collection. It shows off my collection of all these I've just bought over the years here and there of these copper pots. And then right out the kitchen is my rear foyer. It's where I park and come in, but it used to be a breezeway and I enclosed it to make this little foyer to connect to the garage. Finished this out and made it into a cute this foyer. And then 5 years ago, a tree fell in the middle of the house and crushed it to the ground. And so I was like, well, we obviously had to build it back, but let's build it back and make it interesting. So it had those glass doors and stuff that I was like, done what I just could at the time. And so now I went back and did this wall, which is porcelain tile, which looks like antique mirror. And then I had this big mirror that I love that would not fit anywhere else in the house. And so it just sort of worked out. Actually, it turns out it's one of my favorite spaces in the house, and it's tiny. But because of when the tree fell and there was no roof left on the house, we were able to take the roof up because it was low before and have a chandelier and then have art. So it turned out to be a cool space. This room just kind of like came together because it's so small, but I knew how I wanted it to feel. And so I started out with this chest, and then I needed chairs that would fit here. And then I had a mirror, but then I bought this mirror for my dining room and it wouldn't fit. So it just all sort of was a domino effect. And like, I really enjoy it. Like it makes me happy when I walk in. There's like, everything just sort of fits me. So when the tree fell on my house, I had just renovated and put these doors in to go into the garage, but they were over a bit. But the only thing left standing after the tree fell were these doors. And so I was like, obviously we reuse them again. But so after the tree, I decided to make this into I call it the pied-à-terre. It's a little apartment. And so it has turned out to be a place where, in part of my house, where when people come over, everybody ends up out in this little apartment. So this was the garage before, and it already had plumbing and all that before the previous owner had a workshop or something out here, and they had a workstation area and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't a big deal to make it into this little apartment, but because it was all here, it just had to figure out the pieces of it. So when the tree fell, I just had it finished out, but as an office storage area, but it was all painted white. And so when it was crushed down the ground, I thought, and we could go up a little bit. I was like, well, why don't I do what I want to do? And so we came back and I'm like, I love a dark room. And so I painted this dark blue and I love it. It just feels rich and envelops you and feels like a gentleman's study. And so I've found these, I started out, I guess, this little settee thing, an estate sale. And then I bought these amazing Maitland Smith etagères at an estate sale. And then everything's just kind of gone from there. One of my favorite things in this room is this blue wing chair that makes me crazy but I was in Savannah visiting, helping my friend Mary Kay Andrews, one of her events at her house. And I went to an antique shop, and I saw the chair across the room, and I thought, oh my gosh, I know it's going to be, $1 bazillion. And it actually was only $200. And so I was like, well, that can fit in my budget. So it's like, it's one of those things people always comment on it, because who has the powder blue vintage leather chair? So it's a cool piece. And then I know I have lots of like traditional stuff everywhere, but I also just love this contemporary piece. It just sort of is a juxtaposition of all the other stuff I have. And then this is my nod to my dogs. I have 3 dogs, and I've had many dogs over the years, but I have dog art here flanking that. And then I have a whole wall of dog art here. And then, of course, I have a little dog bar set up with all the dog treats and stuff for the dogs, because it's dog world over here these days. The kitchen area I added, of course, but there was like a workstation here before with plumbing and all that. And so I put in apartment-sized appliances so that we could fit in a full kitchen. So you've got everything you could possibly need if you lived here. But and then I bought these great steel case windows off of Facebook Marketplace. I have one here, and I have one at another house, but I love them because they're from the 50s or 60s, and they're just great little architectural detail. And another thing, I love this little wood thing. It's a dumb little detail, but actually I was at an estate sale recently. It was $5. It was off a piece of furniture, I think, something. But I was like, I think it would fit just right there. So I screwed it up there, and it just went as a little cornice board, and I think it's charming. And then of course we have a little game table area. These little chairs that are little corner chairs that were not meant to be game chairs, but they just work perfect there. Welcome to my primary bedroom, and I want to show you my most incredible find that I found. I was on Facebook Marketplace, and I just had surgery about 3 months ago, and I saw one night there was a corner cupboard on there that was very cheap, and I was obsessed with it. But I'm like, I can't, I don't need it. I just had surgery. I can't get it. And so the next morning it was free. And so I contacted the woman, and she said, come get it. You come get it today, and it's free. Well, I just had knee surgery, but I'm like, I'm coming to get it. So in the meantime, on the way there, she asked me if I wanted a china cabinet. And I thought, I'm not really a china cabinet kind of person sometimes, so she sent me a picture, and it wasn't a china cabinet. It was a Baker breakfront, historic Charleston breakfront, and she said if I could get it that day, it was free. So I didn't have anywhere to put it, but I decided there again, you live in a small house, you gotta have somewhere to put your clothes, and I never have had anywhere. So I put it in my bedroom, and so I've got keep all my clothes, try to keep them tidy in there so that it's like great for storage. I thought I knew what it was the value of it, but a friend of mine that works where they sell this, and they don't make it anymore, but it's somewhere around like $30,000, something like that in value. So I got it for free. So it's like one of those like Facebook Marketplace, wow. This little seating area, I mean, I thought that it was like kind of dumb to have in a bedroom, but there again, I was talking earlier about when the tree fell in my house, the bedroom used to stop along here. And so after the tree fell, I pushed the wall back, and so it created this little area. I actually end up sitting in here all the time. I use my laptop. I can watch TV, whatnot. So it actually is like, I thought it was dumb to have, but it's actually very practical, and I end up using it. Bed wall, I bought the one mirror on the left I bought years ago. The company I used to work for, and I paid a lot for it, and I loved it. But then I was at an estate sale, and there was a mirror, and there was a frame that didn't have a mirror in it, and the bottom of it was broken off, and it was $25. And I thought, I think they're about the same, and so they are the same scale. So I bought it and had a mirror put in it, and I use them as a pair, even though they're not. But I love them, and then they make me happy. And then the painting above the bed, it's the same artist that did my grandmother's house. It's Helena Meek, and it makes me happy. It makes me think of South Georgia. It makes me think of just just happiness. And so then I've added everything else that's kind of grown off of that. I was looking on Facebook Marketplace. I wanted a new table or an ottoman or something. And this ottoman, so every day I would go in and put ottoman or cocktail table or tea table or something. And this, finally one day it came up and it was round ottoman. And they said it was orange, it's coral actually. And I was like, please let it be coral, please let it be coral. And it was $25. And so I was like, there's got to be something wrong with it. But the people just bought it, it didn't match their stuff, and the woman wanted it gone that day. So I got a brand new ottoman that matches everything perfectly for $25. Finding stuff on Facebook Marketplace can be hard because people call things different things. Like you can call that an ottoman, you can call it a cocktail ottoman, and see people even call it that's not, but a hassock. I mean, there's all different kinds of names, and they're not necessarily, any of them are wrong, but you have to go in and realize that you may call something a chest, but somebody else calls it a dresser. Or you may call something a china cabinet when it's the break front, or you call it an armoire, someone else might call it a chifforobe. It's a country word, but you realize when you're on Facebook Marketplace to search in different ways, because you don't always know how someone might have it listed. And so that is like, I will just, and then every day to go in and put in, I was looking for marble several years ago for a project, a house I did. Every day I went in and put in marble. I put in Carrara, I put in granite, whatever, for weeks. Finally, one Sunday morning, I put in Carrara, and a picture came up of just stacks and stacks of Carrara marble, and I thought, this cannot be true. Well, it was true, because they had just torn down a building in Midtown Atlanta, the old Wachovia building, and it was covered in white Carrara marble, and I was able to buy truckloads of it for $1 a square foot to do the floors in my kitchen out of it. So it was amazing, but it was only because I looked at every day, diligently going and putting it in different ways, looking it up. Home means a lot of things to me because I work from home. So I like my house to be, every room to feel like me. And sometimes my home gets messy because I might want to work in the kitchen one day, or I might want to work in the living room, whatever. But I like my home to feel comfortable and to feel good to me, because I might be working in the bedroom, I might be working in the kitchen, it does, whatever. So I like it to be a place where I want to be.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.